Okay, what the fuck? Oh, you got out of bounds? Yep. After you get the ability to parkour, you can go back through the door where you come first. In the ceiling, there is, for no fucking reason, a hole. With some parkour jumps, you can reach that and jump through it. So this is an incredible out of bounds in Tanta We Trust, which is the Forspoken DLC episode. Quick recap: after the game's main story, you hear a mysterious voice and are led to the outskirts of Visoria, where you are led into this fount of memory, and then experience events as they occurred 25 years before. You end up in this war zone, and after stumbling around for a bit, you get captured and branded.
What is that?
Thus ends the prologue, and we enter Chapter 1. We break out of jail using our newfound magical powers and proceed forward. There are some combat sections, and then we meet Tanta, who joins us as an ally. There are some stealth sections that are quite restrictive. You can't really explore too much. And after going through some stealth sections and some more combat sections, we eventually reach the Winged Sentinel boss. After defeating the Winged Sentinel, we finally unlock the parkour magic. And normally you head forward and out the front door, which takes you to the surface, which is the Chapter 2 area. But as mentioned in that post, if we turn around and head back, maybe we can find the out of bounds. It's a giant staircase room, it's cavernous. I did not immediately see a hole as I walked backward through the room, so I kept backtracking to the previous combat room. In this room there is indeed a hole in the ceiling, so I thought, okay, maybe this is it. By the way, if you try to backtrack further, there's this crack in the wall where there's like a context-sensitive button press to move through it, but that button press does not exist on the other side, so we're trapped on this side of the cracked wall, so this is the only area we can be in. The Sentinel room, the big staircase room, and then this combat room with the hole in the ceiling. So here I'm trying to get up through the hole in the ceiling, and I tried for a while, and eventually it just seemed to me that there was an invisible collider blocking the ceiling, so I couldn't actually get out through here. It did not seem possible, so I decided to go back into the big staircase room and look around. So I'm looking around, trying to see, did I miss something here? I probably did. I start climbing up on the sides of the room, on top of these like giant break shard crystals. And I'm looking up and there's some light coming down. I can see some light. And I go into photo mode and I look up, and sure enough, up there is a hole up there. It's quite far up. And it's not easy to reach this place. You have to really have some confidence with your parkour skills to be able to climb up. It feels almost like a puzzle, and it is pretty mysterious. So we're pretty high up now. And thanks to this dodge roll, I just like barely make it up. There it is. I finally made it up, and we are really high up. This room is like quite tall. But managed to make it out to freedom, escaping from the underground. But what is this place? This big rocky area, what is this? The sky turns blue as we walk to the edge. And we see this massive structure, this huge mountainous structure. It's all rocky. And down below, some mysterious flat plane that is untextured. Decide to jump down and explore. Falling for quite a ways to reach this place. And you know, luckily you can make a save right after you escape, so you can just load the save. So you don't have to worry about falling down into some crevice. Here on this flat plane, we're going into the shadows. And you can see their lighting engine's pretty interesting. The light ends here, but then we can go further into this dark area. It gets so dark that I can't even see. Getting lost in this dark cavern. We can also go underneath this giant, untextured, flat, rectangular object. Fall down into these further crevices. And heading deeper in. Falling down and getting stuck down here. If we fall off the side of the structure, we can see that some of the terrain, the collision data does not match the mesh. It is almost like the mesh was created, the collider was created based on the mesh, and then the mesh was modified, but the collider was never updated. Anyway, we can see the end of level area. It just kind of ends. The surface worlds, the chapter 2 area, does not exist here. This is still inside chapter 1. As we head to the horizon, the sky strangely changes. It looks much more cloudy and ominous. And there's strange light. We keep exploring. There are more of these large untextured rectangular objects. This one looks kind of like a wall. And here we find this rectangular dark shadow. And from here, if we fall down the crevice here, now this kind of blew my mind. So we're finding our way back inside into this crevice. Is there going to be anything here?
Damn.
Falling down, we're taking damage, we're looking around. It's dark, it's hard to see. Another opening. Looks like there's some more stuff down here. What is this? And we seem to be on some type of building. And here we are inside the old capital of Visoria. In all its glory, all of these buildings, the entire city is here. So like, why is all this here, right? Like, what is this? Well, I mean, earlier in chapter 1, we were doing stealth sections through small bits of this area. But it was like highly guarded. There were a few combat sections and a few stealth sections. But you really could not move around very much. It was highly restrictive. Here, with our magic parkour ability, in all of its glory, what used to just be background scenery is now a fully explorable world. And it's all solid, we can walk on it, we can go around into like dark alleys, we can slip through these little spaces and see what's there. So earlier in the story, when we ask Cinta where are we get a nice shot of this location.
This is the oldest part of the city. It was built by Visoria's very first Tanta. She dwelt here with her subjects.
So as you can see, during our prior stealth sections, we couldn't explore at all if we turned one corner differently. you know, we get a prompt saying we're going the wrong way. But now the city is ours to explore, the whole city. Down below is a combat room, but now I'm walking on top of it. I found a dark staircase here. Like, I don't know where this was supposed to be. It seems like you're never even supposed to see this place. But it's here. So we can see some of those, like, large break shard crystals in this area. And this area is actually quite close to where we initially escaped. Like, if I wedge myself here, I can actually get a view into the room that had the hole in the ceiling. But now I'm trapped and I can't escape. I'm wedged in between a solid rock and an invisible wall. Can't get out. If we go back outside the mountain and look around, there is another entrance into the city. Heading clockwise around the mountain, you can find this opening here. And this will also lead you into the city. I mean, it kind of makes you wonder if this is almost an Easter egg. Like, did the developer intentionally leave a hole in that room to allow the player to explore all their exquisite work of creating this giant space? I don't know. Maybe not, but it's sort of like a really cool secret, because being able to explore this huge city. I mean, there's this like darker area of the city, which is like a little bit less, it's like sparser and like more mountainous. It's also pretty fun to try to use your parkour abilities to actually scale these structures. But yeah, there are certain places where you can no longer scale upwards, so I'll show you that. On one of these roofs, there was a little introduction to a boss fight, and then Cinta warped us away from that fight. And then the place where Cinta warped us to, there is the ability to jump off the cliff, and if you do jump off the cliff there, it will void you out. And so you can actually find that void trigger and go up into it. And so I'm not sure how big this like death plane is that will, you'll take damage and then be reset. I'm not sure how large that is, but it's definitely present, so you can find it. Here we're going underneath the water, and we can explore the underside of the city. There is solid ground down here, and we can see the city from below. And you know, as you explore the outside structures of the giant mountain, you'll find other holes and strange subterranean caverns. They may not lead anywhere, but they're kind of interesting. You also find more strange cubes, untextured structures. Here was one that was pretty interesting. There's like this kind of detailed structure, but as I approach it, it gets covered in rocks. And so I'm curious what this structure is. I can almost peek through a crack underneath it. I was able to scale on top of it and then kind of get onto the roof of the structure. Part of me wonders if this is the jail cell at the beginning of chapter 1. Like, as I run through this out of bounds, I'm realizing that basically the entirety of chapter 1 is present on the same map. And it's like, it's a little bit shocking because, I mean, in older games, you'd often just have like a single room that is loaded, and then like a door would be a trigger to load the next room. But in these more like open world game engines, you get much larger spaces. See, I found a way to slip down underneath what I assumed was the jail, and now there's like another huge subterranean area underneath. I mean, it just kind of goes on. Alright, so what if we try to leave the entire place? Like, let's just head out to the horizon. After falling for a ways, we finally get down this flat plain, this rocky terrain, and we just head out, we leave. We're just leaving. Now we're leaving the, we are now leaving the entire area. The horizon seems to just stretch on and on, but eventually it does change. So here, the ground starts sloping down. Might this be the end of the world? We're about 2.7 kilometers away. So we walk down the slope, and is this it? The edge of the world? The infinite void? Is this the end? Is this the edge of the world? Turns out it's solid. You can actually stand on it. Okay. Well, now we can head further out. Let's just keep going. Eventually, all of the rocky terrain is swallowed by the camera's far clipping plane, and we have our perfect horizon. And we keep going and going. Will it ever end? Eventually, surprisingly, this too shall end. And we come to the edge of the world. It is actually one large rectangular platform. And it's here. We can find a corner. We follow the edge. We can find one of the corners of the world. It's 6.4 kilometers in this direction. The map doesn't load correctly here. It looks pretty strange. It's mostly empty with some strange rectangles. Alright, there's only one thing left to do, which is to jump off and fall down. And this time there is no void trigger, there's no like emergency check for if you fell out of bounds. There's simply nothing. You just fall, and you fall and you accelerate further and faster downward. We're going pretty fast down now, just falling. And you know, the sky is like fixed, so there's no motion in the sky. I left it on for a while, and I wasn't sure if we might see floating point precision issues with character model, but it actually seems to be still in order. I'm not sure how that's happening, if it's I'm not sure if it's due to like double precise floats, or if it's due to like maybe your character is always considered at the center of the game world or something. I'm not sure, but there did not seem to be any loss of precision. And I don't know, I guess that's it. So thank you for joining and seeing the old capital of Visoria and the In Tanta We Trust Out of Bounds.